In this video, we're going to be looking at this Fluke 192 Scopemeter. I won this off eBay pretty much, and it was sold as is, broken, no power. That's how it was sold. We're going to see this was a good or bad gamble, and we're going to see why it doesn't power on pretty quickly and do a quick teardown of it. We won't be doing a full repair of it because I'll probably end up having to order some parts and stuff like that. But at least we'll get pretty much glance of what the internals are and see if we can get this puppy to power on pretty much. Now overall, this was the condition it was sold in, which is pretty decent condition considering that these are usually abused. You can see there, that's my concern. There's an empty hole where a DC jack should be, so someone's definitely been in this one. And that kind of concerns me because a lot of times the resellers, what they'll do is they'll know certain parts are valuable, like the screen, the actual keypad membrane and stuff like that, and even maybe CA6 and so forth, because they're notorious for going bad on these. So I'm hoping that that might be actually the problem. Someone attempted to repair it, and it's not that someone decided to go in here and pretty much salvage the valuable parts out of it. We'll go and take it apart. You do need one of these, and there's pretty much 2 screws on the top that you have to remove. There's 2 screws on the bottom. These 2 separate out, and then there's going to be 2 more screws on this side pretty much on the back that you do have to remove. And my bird needs to get down because she's trying to get into my work area. But we're going to go get these covers off. We'll get the 2 screws that's holding this back cover on and see if we can get the cover off. Someone's definitely been inside it because one of the screws are missing, but that's the 2 hidden screws that you got to remove, or there's only one in this case here, and you just go ahead and remove that pretty much once you get the covers off. Okay, go ahead and slide this off here. They just slide off. Here's the bottom one, and it's made like this so it's easy to take apart though. And then you simply go and lift this up, and then it comes out pretty much. So I'm gonna go and do that because I don't want to damage the cable on the side off camera, and I'll be right back once I get this cover completely off. So went ahead and removed the back cover, and that's why they make it easy to remove, so you can replace this battery if need be. But overall, upon initial inspection, doesn't actually look too bad. Still got actually the plastic over the shielding, and I can see the keypad membrane because here's the shielding for it still in place, so it doesn't look like someone actually took part. But here you go, you can kind of see in there. These are the isolated channels for the scope, that's for the meter. And then here you go, you got another shield there, and then there's your battery. Now I do suspect this was dropped. You can see there's someone trying to do a bodge repair on that DC jack already. So that's probably what happened. The reason why I suspect they dropped and probably broke is because you can see those posts are shredded off the casing. So I'll probably likely have to find another casing at least for this here, or just glue those back in place enough to well stay in place. I'll probably just glue it because the casing is expensive and it's not gonna move around once together and stuff anyway. So, but I do definitely got a source of jack for that if I want to be able to use this, of course. But we're going to feed power to this red and black right here, which is all you need to do to get it power on. We'll feed 8 volts around in there, and we'll see if this scope actually powers on and stuff like that. I'm going to assume the display is probably likely bad because they always go bad on these things because that conductive strip, that glue on there deteriorates over time and stuff like that. But I was kind of planning on that, so if I have to, I'll take the display out and send it out and have them replace that conductive strip, where there's a company that does it for about $195, and they'll get the display cable replaced and stuff like that, and they'll even guarantee the display for lifetime pretty much if it breaks again. But let's go and see first if it powers on and if there's any other problems with the scope. So went ahead and temporarily added a negative and positively going from the battery terminals into the board right there, just to test to see if this will power on. It will work enough for now just to see if it even powers on or not. I'm feeding 8.2 volts in there, and at 1.5, I'm not sure you can see that or not because of the glare, but that's what I'm feeding in. And we're going to go and turn it on and see if we get any magic smoke. Let's put the camera here just in case something smokes. No smoke. And yes, we're only drawing very little current, but it is drawing some current in standby, so that's a very good sign right there. Let's go and flip this over. Try it carefully because those posts are broken there. Yes! And we got power. So yeah, and look at that too. Both channels are actually working. Let me see if I get any noise. And yes, those A6Cs are definitely likely good because one, I heard both relays to the channels click, and two, there is noise when you touch the center pin, so that means the CA6 are likely good. So yes, I might go ahead and see if I can feed a signal in really quick and see if I get anything on the display. But yeah, you can see this LCD definitely needs to be redone. Pretty much what they're gonna do is replace that conductive strip going for the horizontal on the display there, and that will fix these lines right there, because you shouldn't be getting that. But it's a common issue with these, that glue, that conductive glue that they use on the actual flat flex goes and deteriorates, and it detaches from the bonding on the PCB board. Now thankfully, there is a company that actually rebuilds them. They go and actually change that flex cable and put new conductive glue and everything on there and stuff like that, and that should work. So we'll go ahead and see if that fixes that down the road, but at least it does power on. I'm assuming, at least I hope so, once I replace the jack, that this should work on. I'll probably at a later time, when I take this completely apart, I'll put power through there, see if it does charge battery once I get a new battery pack for it and all that other stuff, and see that of course it's working from here, and that the charge circuitry and everything's still actually good and stuff like that. I'm assuming what happened was they probably dropped it, broke that jack there. Someone attempted to try to go ahead and jerry-rig a new jack in there, but was unsuccessful, and they just sold it as is pretty much. But overall, we're gonna go ahead and, feed a signal into it from a function generator and see if we get a signal on channel 1 and 2. So went ahead and fed a 1 kilohertz 3-volt peak-to-peak sine wave signal on channel B, and you can see she is working great and triggering and everything. So at least I know channel B is good. I'm gonna go and switch it over to channel A and see if we get the same results. So went ahead and switched channels and went ahead and fed the signal now to channel A, which is a 1 kilohertz 3-volt peak-to-peak signal. And as you can see, channel A is working properly and is triggering properly on that channel. So I'm quite happy. So both channels on this scope meter are actually working. So I'm going to go ahead and get this back down, turn it off, and pretty much this will conclude the video. So this looks like it's going to turn out to be a good gamble, as both channels appear to work correctly. So that's a good thing, because that's one of the biggest concerns I had, was if the CASIC was actually bad on the front end. Because if that's bad, it's pretty much game over, because that part pretty much costs more than what I actually paid for the Scope 1. And it's ridiculously overpriced because you can't source them, and that's just for one. If you get one for both channels, you're going to end up spending over about $700 and then have to do a full calibration on this thing, which will be another $200-300. Plus all the other stuff. You'll have to repair that DC jack. So I'm glad the ASICs are actually good on this thing. So the only thing I will have to do is I will have to send this LCD out to Scopemeters. They charge about $195 to repair the LCD, but they actually do change that conductive strip there, so you won't have the problem again. They actually even do a lifetime guarantee that I'll never have the problem again and stuff like that. Yes, you can go ahead and try to, heat the actual conductive strip very carefully over and put pressure on it, but that's only a temporary fix. You have to actually place that, pretty much that conductive strip, which is actually a conductive glue on there that bonds to the PCB board on there and stuff like that, to do a more permanent fix, and you need special equipment to do that. So I'm just gonna send the LCD off and let them deal with it, and then therefore it got a lifetime guarantee, at least on the LCD module. that you won't have those horizontal lines again. And then I'm also going to source a new battery in the next video and see if I can find the original jack, because I do actually have the original charger for this thing. So I want to try to see if I can get the original jack. I've been looking on eBay and their sellers charging $95 for just that jack part alone by itself, because they are rare and hard to find, unfortunately. So I have to see what I do. I may just buy a whole nother donor scope of this one, maybe one with broken A6 if I can find one, so that way I can get this casing too as well deal with, because as you can see those are broken out. Of course I could just glue that back in place and weld it in place pretty much, so therefore it won't come apart. But it'd be nice to see if I can also get the casing too, as well as the jack, and I'll just source a new battery pack for this thing. But overall, this concludes the video. Until next time around.